Even the mightiest empires can crumble in the blink of an eye. And Blockbuster is the perfect example of this harsh truth. You might think it's just a video rental company, but its downfall is a real lesson in management mistakes, missed opportunities, and technological shifts that nobody tells you about. Let's dive into the 7 shocking reasons that drove Blockbuster to bankruptcy and uncover the lessons hidden in its collapse. The first blow was fear of innovation. At a time when Netflix was experimenting with mailing DVDs and later streaming, Blockbuster was still fixated on physical store rentals. This hesitation, much like a survivor in the wild refusing to follow a changing water source, caused the company to fall behind in the digital transformation. Decisions that seemed safe in the short term ultimately sealed its fate, showing how risk aversion can become a slow-acting poison. The second reason was heavy debt and short-term profit focus. Blockbuster borrowed millions to expand rapidly, prioritizing immediate sales over building sustainable infrastructure. It's the same rule survivalists follow. If you mismanage your resources, when the real crisis hits, you're done. This classic failure in resource management is a vital lesson for anyone navigating high-stakes environments. The third shocking mistake was underestimating the power of consumer behavior. Customers were moving toward convenience and personalization, craving instant access to movies without leaving their homes. Blockbuster's rigid model ignored this shift, much like ignoring the early warning signs of a storm. They stuck to late fees and rigid rental policies while the market silently migrated online. This disconnect between corporate strategy and human behavior is a survival principle in any system. Adaptability is everything. The fourth reason was a toxic corporate culture. Innovation was stifled, internal warnings were often ignored, and loyalty to outdated practices outweighed creative solutions. In a way, it mirrors what happens when a survival group prioritizes hierarchy over practical knowledge. Small inefficiencies snowball into catastrophic failure. Employees and middle management who could have championed change were left powerless. And by the time leadership recognized the threat, it was too late. The fifth factor was overexpansion. Blockbuster had thousands of stores worldwide, each demanding operational costs, rent, and staff. This vast network became a liability rather than an asset, similar to how a survivor carrying unnecessary weight can slow down and fail to escape danger. The more rigid and sprawling the structure, the less resilient it becomes in the face of sudden environmental change. The sixth reason was missed opportunities to partner with emerging technologies. Blockbuster had a chance to acquire Netflix early on, but hesitated, thinking the mail order and streaming model was a fad. This hesitation is equivalent to ignoring a new survival tool simply because it's untested. It seems safe until it becomes the difference between life and death. By the time they realized the potential, the market had shifted irreversibly. Finally, the seventh reason was complacency fueled by dominance. Blockbuster had the market in its hands, and this confidence led to arrogance. The company believed its brand alone would guarantee survival. But as in survival scenarios, past success doesn't protect you from sudden environmental shocks. No empire, no matter how dominant, is immune to collapse if it ignores adaptation and external threats. Blockbuster's collapse is more than a business story. It's a survival story. It teaches lessons about adaptation, the dangers of complacency, and the critical importance of reading changing conditions before it's too late. Every failure, every misstep, and every ignored signal is a reminder that even the giants can fall when they refuse to evolve. Let's dig deeper into the first reason: fear of innovation. Blockbuster had a golden opportunity to embrace digital transformation early, but instead, they clung to their stores like a survivor clutching a crumbling shelter. In survival, holding on to what feels safe often leads to disaster. Netflix was quietly experimenting, sending DVDs to people's homes, testing streaming technology that seemed futuristic. Meanwhile, Blockbuster executives were confident that the in-store rental experience was untouchable. They underestimated the pace of technological change, a lethal mistake in any high-stakes environment. In survival science, this is the equivalent of ignoring the first signs of a predator or wildfire. Denial doesn't prevent destruction, it accelerates it. Get and short-term profit obsession compounded the problem. Every store expansion, every shiny new kiosk required capital, and Blockbuster borrowed heavily to fund this empire. On paper, it looked impressive: thousands of locations, millions in revenue. But the foundation was fragile. Just like a survivor who overextends their energy, carrying too many supplies into the wilderness, Blockbuster's financial structure couldn't absorb the sudden shocks of the digital era. When Netflix began gaining traction, Blockbuster's rigid, debt-laden infrastructure could not pivot. The company was trapped in a high-cost system with little flexibility. Then comes consumer behavior. People didn't just want movies, they wanted instant access, convenience, and control over what they watched and when. Blockbuster's late fees, rigid return policies, and lack of personalization created friction. Netflix, on the other hand, offered convenience, choice, and predictability. Imagine a survival scenario where you insist on hunting the old way, ignoring easy sources of food appearing in your environment. That's exactly what Blockbuster did, refusing to adapt to changing human behavior. They failed to read the cues of their market, and this failure accelerated their collapse. Corporate culture played a hidden yet deadly role. Innovation wasn't encouraged. New ideas were often dismissed. Middle managers who understood the shift in consumer preferences had little influence, while executives stuck to outdated models. In survival terms, it's like ignoring scouts warning about incoming danger because you're confident in your base. Every ignored suggestion, every silenced voice became a crack in the company's armor. The structure was rigid. Hierarchy ruled over practical intelligence. And by the time action was taken, the momentum of decline was unstoppable. Overexpansion acted as a hidden predator. Thousands of stores demanded rent, staff, and constant operational oversight. Each location became a liability, not an asset. In a survival analogy, think of carrying a heavy pack across dangerous terrain. It slows you down, makes you vulnerable, and depletes your energy reserves. Blockbuster's sprawling empire turned into a maze of inefficiency. When the market shifted, they couldn't retract quickly enough. Every store represented a fixed cost, a chain binding them to a model that was already obsolete. Missed opportunities with emerging technology are like ignoring a tool that could save your life. Blockbuster had a chance to acquire Netflix early. They hesitated, dismissing streaming as a novelty, something temporary. This moment of indecision is critical. In survival, failing to adopt a new tool or method, even if it seems untested, can be the difference between life and death. By the time Blockbuster realized the potential of digital distribution, the market had moved forward, and they were left chasing a tide that had already receded. Finally, complacency fueled by dominance created a silent killer. Blockbuster's executives believed the brand recognition and market share would protect them. But in survival, past victories are no guarantee of future success. Nature, markets, and human behavior are all dynamic, unforgiving systems. Ignoring this reality is fatal. Blockbuster thought it was untouchable, but the world moved faster than they did. Their arrogance blinded them to the changing landscape. And that overconfidence was precisely what caused them to fall. What Blockbuster's story teaches us is that survival, whether in the wild, in business, or in life, is a matter of constant adaptation. It's about reading the environment, recognizing opportunities, embracing change, and not being afraid to discard what no longer works. Every misstep, every ignored warning, every delay in adapting is a lesson in survival. Blockbuster fell not because they lacked resources, talent, or ideas. They fell because they failed to act in time, failed to respect the invisible forces reshaping their world. In essence, the rise and fall of Blockbuster is a masterclass in survival principles applied to the corporate world. Adapt or perish. Fear of innovation, crushing debt, ignoring consumer behavior, toxic culture, overexpansion, missed technological opportunities, and complacency, all combined like a perfect storm. And just like in survival, only those who read the signals and act decisively can endure. Every entrepreneur, every business leader, and every viewer can learn from this story. The world won't wait for you to catch up. Adaptation is not optional. It is the law of survival.